Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Rectified Podcast. Today's guest is Ryan Lee, co founder of Revert Technologies. With a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from Cornell and an MBA from Yale, Ryan has been dealing with things that flow: chemicals, liquid fuel, gas, electricity, data, capital, and commerce. He's built hydrogen production facilities for Shell Oil, drilled horizontal deep sea injector wells in the Gulf of Mexico, merged energy efficiency companies together as an investment banker, and developed software solutions that integrated Amazon and Alibaba platforms to help millions of SMBs trade in global e commerce. Taking everything he's learned and with the goal to build a sustainable future, Ryan co founded Revert to make it easy to turn things off and on to save energy and reduce carbon emissions for people, businesses, and our planet. Ryan, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Sandy. Wow, that sounded really good for saying I was a plumber. I
No, you,
plumb,
you
I,
weren't.
I plumb data, I plumb electricity, I plumb all kinds of things. So
Mm,
yes.
yeah, I mean, you did pretty amazing things, including what we're going to talk about today. Ryan, I'm going to start straight away with the first question. Sustainability is trendy nowadays, and every single person is trying to create sustainable products. Big and small companies are trying to hop on the sustainability wagon, and some are definitely greenwashing just to be part of this movement. So, how is your product different, and how does it help us be more sustainable in our daily lives?
All right. Yeah, it is indeed. Sustainability is a very hot topic. And I think just given everything that we're seeing in terms of, climate extremities, all the resources going on in the world, it's something that's front and center, right? It's here and we
Yeah.
got to address it. Now, in terms of how we see sustainability or the problem that we're trying to solve is this notion of appliances that continue to drain energy and leach power even when they're not used. So if you have
Mm,
a printer, chances are it's standing by 364 days a year for a 3-second print job. But what happens to the rest of its standby? It's actually still consuming energy. And so our product is essentially helping you,
mm,
making it very easy to turn these things off for you and bring it back on, of course, when you need it, in a way that maximizes your energy savings. And by doing so, reducing your carbon emissions, but without disrupting your lifestyle.
mhm.
So, long story short, we're the plug guys. We turn appliances off and on.
Yeah.
And in doing so, it's very easy to relate that, we're just saving energy and reducing the carbon emissions associated with those unnecessary use of appliances.
Yeah. And how do you do that? Like, you don't come to my home and then unplug things. How does it work?
No, no, we don't come to your home to unplug things. We don't ask you to unplug things,
No.
although some people do that. What we instead do is, invented this Teak Smart Cube, which is, really, it looks like a power adapter, has a very unique form factor, like, pretty much like your power strips or surge protectors, but in a very unique cubic way.
Mhm.
And what you do is you plug in your appliances into the cube itself. And those outlets are actually, being watched over by an artificial intelligence that learns from your usage patterns. Hey, you probably never run on your Peloton treadmill.
Yeah.
Or hey, you never print stuff, or, you don't ever watch TV beyond certain hours of the day. And why don't you cut the power off to those appliances, and to save energy?
Mhm.
And, we'll bring these appliances back on before you need it. Right. So,
Yeah.
and that's what it does. It's fully automated. There's a paired app that's associated with this product. So at least there's a
Okay.
way for the AI to communicate to you.
Yeah.
Hey, Sandy, I'm about to turn things off. Is that okay?
Yeah. I was wondering like if I'm watching TV and it somehow thinks that I'm not, will it turn it off while I'm watching TV?
Well, it's a little smarter than that. Like it
Yeah.
knows based on the power signatures of what's going on that you're actually watching, or something's going on with this TV that it shouldn't be
Mhm.
turning it off. And what it does is more so reminding you that, hey, we scheduled to
Mhm.
turn this thing off at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Does look like you're still watching TV, so might as well keep on going, and so on and so forth. So
Mm.
there's that personal energy or personal assistant to you to kind of help you navigate your journey through turning things off and on, in deriving energy savings. So it's very
Mm.
non-intrusive to your lifestyle, but it is there to remind you, and it is there to turn things off for you
Yeah.
very consistently.
It's pretty amazing because I think we all need that not only to be more sustainable, but we can also like save on our energy bill, like pay less with everything that's going on in the world and the inflation and the prices and everything. I think it's a pretty good idea. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, actually, we started with figuring out this problem. Like rather than coming up with the idea, we actually like started to realize like what the heck, right? Like why are appliances always on? My co-founder and I met university,
Hmm.
and we were pretty passionate about energy and sustainability. And one crazy idea we had back in the day was, what if we turn all these commercial electric lawnmowers that's just sitting there idle with a bunch of batteries into energy storage units and take the entire facility off the grid, like just like what a Tesla Powerwall would do,
Oh,
right? So
yeah.
that was our first idea. And in the process of making this energy storage unit out of electric lawnmowers, we started to realize that how come, after hours, these buildings, just there's certain appliances, something is continuing to draw energy and eating up on our battery.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't figure out like why until, we researched into this topic and realized, wow, some people may have heard it as vampire energy. Others may have heard it as phantom load. It's really these appliances, they just don't know,
Mm.
right? Like you're a vending machine, you are a treadmill, you are a set of cubicle machinery projectors. You actually don't know that it's off work. It's the
Yeah.
weekends. It's
Yeah.
you're away from home, or all those kind of things. And they just keep on burning and draining energy on the background, right? And so from our perspective, this notion of managing energy for facilities went so far beyond just a single battery device. It's actually looking after all these appliances. And that's how we
Hmm.
really started to think about, how can I make it easy for people to actually turn these things off?
Yeah.
And it certainly wasn't easy before we started, right?
Mm.
You can't unplug these things. You can't turn off your whole, circuit breaker in the building. There's certain things you can't, that's meant to be on all the time. And so, how can we then have that precision to address these appliances in a very minimum, intrusive way, and make it very easy for the user to be able to actually turn things off a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So that's how this whole thing started.
And like I always wonder about, when you come up with products that are very like tech oriented, like this one, there's like AI component, like it's a tech company, it's more than a product based company. So you need to do a lot of work before even launching it to the market. It's not like you're creating a t-shirt or a scented candle or that kind of thing. How long did it take you to actually come up with a product that actually works?
Yeah, this is a 2-year journey.
Okay.
And actually, throughout the journey, we've learned to be very humble. Uh, that candle,
Yes.
whatever people is making, there's a lot of effort that goes behind it, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how complex or how simple it is. Sometimes some of the simplest stuff is very hard to make
Mm. So
in
true.
life,
You're
right?
right.
And so we've earned the appreciation of a hardware entrepreneur
Hmm.
that this whole thing is just very difficult getting it from basically my co-founder did it with a Home Depot version of our first
Okay.
product, which is kind of just like buying these plastic covers, these little outlets, stitch together all the wiring and the behind it, all the way to now a mass produced version with our partner in the state of Maine, so
Hmm.
manufacturing partner in the state of Maine. This took a 2-year journey,
Okay.
and along the way, a lot of people helping us, accelerator programs, manufacturing, programs, and in each step of the way, because it is really a big, big, big gap between
Yeah.
what is a prototype to what is a certified and consumer ready product, fully
Exactly.
packaged, that is meant to surprise you and delight you at first sight.
Yeah.
We're not going to send you our Home Depot version of the product
No,
otherwise,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So
Um,
it takes a lot of effort.
yeah. I'm curious. Did you 2 years in the making and you're making $0 on this product and it's taking so much of your time? Did you like keep your jobs and work on this on the side until it's done? Like, how did you navigate that? It's something that everybody like goes through at the beginning. I've had some people I interviewed who just left everything and went all in. This is it. You know, we're not doing anything else. And some people are more risk averse and they're like, no, we kept working on it on the sides, that kind of stuff. How did you do this, both of you?
Yeah. So for us, it was kind of like that all in
Okay.
and going after it. It was kind of, I would say, for the inception phase of our idea, very light prototyping, very light
Mm,
customer discovery. At the time, I still had my full time job. I used to manage Alibaba's U.S. business and stuff like that,
yeah.
so very corporate-y. And my co-founder Joe, was also working on his full-time job via Venture for America. So he was supporting a large manufacturing plant in
Uh-huh.
Detroit. We were still kind of tinkering and thinking about it. But at some point on our journey, we felt like, hey, this opportunity is right. I think people, we built something that people would like, right? And you know
Yeah.
what? Life is short. Let's focus on what's, interesting to us, what we're passionate about, and try our best to really bring this, out to market.
Yeah.
So suffice to say, yes, there's a lot of ramen noodle moments. I fortunately, right, had some savings. I fortunately had my wife
Yeah.
working and sort of carrying the family a little bit
Mm,
financially for me to be able to focus on this. And we also fortunately had funding that came
yeah.
about, whether it's through state grants or private angel investments, all the way to TechStars accelerator programs. It kept us
Uh-huh.
going, and of course, ultimately, we did a Kickstarter campaign. So halfway through the 2-year journey, we're like, "Hey, let's launch this on Kickstarter and see how the market responds." And it was a pretty good success, and we had some money coming in, so there's some good validation
Yeah.
to it, right? So along the way, along this 2-year journey, we had some level of support, but it was not like obviously it was
Mm,
not like
mm. Yeah.
living the corporate life or anything like that. So
Yeah, got it. Ryan, when you launched this product, who is the first person that bought from you who's not like your mom or grandma or friend or, someone that has no idea who you are and then they came and bought from you?
my co-founder's mom, no. I am just kidding. Actually, we were very adamant about not involving parents or
Mm,
not involving friends too much in
yeah,
this process because they're very nice and they're very biased,
of
right? So like
course.
there's like, oh, good
Like all
job.
parents.
Yeah, yeah, like all parents or friends, right? Or friends and
Yeah,
family, they're like, "Hey,
exactly.
you can be making the crappiest thing of the entire world, I'll still buy it." Right? But that gives us a false signal because 'cause we're
Yeah.
in it to really create something valuable for the world. So in fact, we've been pretty darn adamant about, bringing people along the way that truly needs this thing or wants this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that a lot of our early users had a pretty big emotional investment on our journey. Um,
Okay.
so some of the samples we send out to people, not to be ashamed to admit that half of them couldn't connect to internet, and the other half couldn't last long enough to
Which
you
is
know
normal, yeah.
right.
Which it's normal. It's the first prototypes.
Yeah, but I think our customers and our folks kind of really get what we're trying to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are like, "Hey, we've always been told to unplug stuff." I actually unplug stuff. I really like
Yeah.
this idea to having these things kind of turn on and off automatically for
Mm-hmm.
me, and so I really want to support this.
Yeah.
And so they kind of stuck with us very early on, all the way to our Kickstarter campaign,
Mm-hmm.
and just showed up in our first day, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that was it.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that our parents didn't chip in eventually, but
Obviously.
the first few customers were actually just complete, strangers that we had
Mm,
basically met throughout our
yeah.
journey, gave us feedback, and bear through the pains of, yeah, this didn't really work,
Yeah.
but I would love to kind of see it come to life, keep working on it type of thing.
Mm. I'm curious, with all these new technology products or anything that's a little innovative or different from what we know in the world, there are always like early adopters, people who are so passionate about something and then they like to try new stuff and they adopt the product early. And then, after that, there's always like the people who follow after a few years, etc., etc. So the people who bought from you at first, are they like people who are early adopters in terms of products that are sustainable that will help them, they're very into doing the best to preserve the planet, to all of these things? Or is it just like random people? There's no like a specific type who bought from you?
Yeah. So, I think this part we may have gotten lucky a little bit
Mm,
where, obviously a lot of our clients and customers who bought from us, via Kickstarter and whatnot, there's this, notion of, hey, this is helping me becoming more sustainable, in a very, an easy
yeah.
and not time consuming way, right? Like doesn't require me to go out of my way. It just
Mm-hmm.
turns things off for me, which is, kind of awesome, right? And accounts for my impact. So there's a lot of people who are like that. But the time that we've launched, which was September of last year, actually exactly a year ago
Yeah.
from now, energy cost was like electricity
Yeah.
costs in particular was just
Going up.
really surging,
Yeah.
was really, really hurting a lot of people. And folks are really looking to save energy. It's like
Mm-hmm.
this little bit helps. And, they've kind of exhausted a lot of things in their home to be able to save energy. If you're a renter, for example,
Yeah.
um,
You
you know,
can't change much.
your landlord is actually not going to change much for you, by the
Yeah.
way. And so you have to, dial the temperature up a little bit or, you know, turn things off a little bit here and there. And so this is like, hey, I would like to try one of this thing to, see how it goes.
Mm,
There are also folks when we open up our Kickstarter campaign, they're actually, moving from an apartment into a house in that
okay.
process. And they're like, hey, my bill is about to triple here from my apartment to a house. And I'm going to buy 3 of your thing. And just to kind of get things going. Right. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think, we serve the dual purpose of, as you've mentioned earlier, like saving energy, but also reducing and keeping account of people's impact as a result of, they're turning things off.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I think with this combination is what really drives people. And we've seen people comment, right? Like we ask every customer, like, what drew you to our Teak Smart Cube? What drew you to our product?
Yeah.
What do you like about it? How are you going to use it? And yeah, invariably it's like TV entertainment system. Oh yeah,
Mm,
I work from home now. Like,
yeah.
my home office. I want to turn these things off when I'm not there, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of that kind of feedback
Yeah.
that we got.
How did you spread the word, first of all, about the Kickstarter campaign? Because yes, Kickstarter, some people go there and like find stuff, but also you need to talk about it to people, and drive traffic there. And also, like today, how do you talk about your brand? Where do you market it? Like, what are the things that you do in terms of that?
Yeah. So, for the Kickstarter campaign, it was actually more driven by our users, or actually,
Okay.
so we were getting customer discoveries, interviewing people, and, we just 3D print, these versions of our product and take it on the
Mm-hmm.
streets and just ask people in New York City. We operate out of New
Okay.
York at the time and just be like, hey, where would you see this being used? Would you like to use this or not? Right? Like, how can we
That's
improve?
cool.
And then, well, here's the fun part is like,
Yeah.
uh, are you gonna be on Kickstarter or Shark Tank?
Oh.
And I was like, what? Like, are you gonna be on Kickstarter or Shark Tank? I'm like, I didn't never thought of it, but that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Is that the way that you hear about these products?
Mm,
Like, oh wow, like, yeah, this is kind of cool.
yeah.
I'd love to see it on Kickstarter and stuff like that. And so, we're like, hey, maybe Kickstarter is the way to go.
Mhm.
So we ended up getting these email addresses from these folks, in our early surveys, and we just asked them, hey, like, who else do you think you might, give this as a gift to, or might really benefit from this? And sure enough, a lot of these people started following us, and we got our mailing list together. It wasn't even a very big mailing list. It was just about 1,000 emails, give and take, and
Pretty
that's
good for a start.
that's how we just went on Kickstarter. We weren't even ambitious either. We were just like,
Mm,
hey, I just want to make sure that people want this thing. There's enough demand for
mm,
this within a span of a month. And so, right after our prototyping,
yeah.
accelerator is done in the summer, we went straight into Kickstarter. We were pretty unprepared, but at least that's what we found in our customer interviews is like, there's either going to be on
Yeah.
Shark Tank or on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So,
It's very interesting because it's true that all of these direct to consumer brands that become like an overnight success, they always post these videos from where they were on Shark Tank, or if in Canada it's Dragon's Den,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's that there's always like this, oh, we were on Shark Tank and we won like $100,000 and all of that. That's pretty interesting. But I also love the idea of Kickstarter because you kind of got a proof of concept or like a product market fit before even selling. Like you knew that people actually want a product like this, which is a nice indicator before investing a large amount of money in the manufacturing process. So I do think it's pretty good. How did you, moving to another part of your journey, how did you manage other than Kickstarter to get funds from here and there to actually fund, the production, everything? Like it's true that it's direct to consumer and you don't have like the big offices and I don't know what, but you still have to create a website and manage things and inventory and packaging and there's a whole lot of things that you need to take care of. How did you find the investors, or what type of investors do you have?
This is when you rely on friends and family.
Yes.
So while they're not paying for $100 teak cubes, they're paying for $100,000 investment in the business.
Okay.
I-
Okay.
yeah, in some ways, I'm not kidding. I like to joke around, but yeah,
Yeah.
we were fortunate to have a lot of friends and colleagues really just believe in what we do. So a little bit more on the mission side
Mm-hmm.
of things, right? Because everybody recognized, hey, I want to contribute to sustainability, but far more things in this world is helping consumers consume more.
Yeah.
There's really not enough technology or innovation is helping conservers
Mm-hmm.
conserve more. And it turns out that everybody has an inner conserver.
Yeah.
Right? Like everybody is mindful of these small things. We turn off water when we don't use it. We try to be mindful about turning off energy. We recycle and those kind of things. But life gets in the way. It's busy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we saw this, gap trying to use technology to kind of address these things, right? To
Yeah.
turn energy on and off for you. And so there's a good number of people who just really believed in us, Joe and I as a team, to take this idea through. But also timing of the market was just such
Yeah.
that there's great interest from even state government level here in the US
Mm-hmm.
at least
Yeah.
to fund, research and development in something that curtails or reduces energy usage,
Yeah.
helps kind of reduce emissions, right?
Mm.
To kind of help us meet these ESG or sustainability goals. And so, we've gotten some climate funding from the New York State, which kind of took us to Rev Ithaca Startup Works,
Yeah.
um, to then be able to really work on our prototype, really go through the full customer discovery process to iterate on our software and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But, by and large, these little funding here and there is
Yeah.
not enough to meet, what it all takes to kind of get things from
Yeah.
0 to 1.
Yeah.
Like you said,
Exactly.
this whole
Exactly.
thing, it takes a whole lot of funding. And we always just didn't have enough capital. But we always just knew that we need to keep on going forward.
Mm-hmm.
If enough people like about it, they'll help us iterate, they'll help us improve. And even if the first product that if we ever ship it to is just a 3D printed model,
Yeah.
and, with whatever that works, as long as it's not the Home Depot version of it, right? The stitched together dorm and garage version of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people are willing to actually use that and give us
Mm-hmm.
feedback on the software and usability and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I
That's
think
pretty cool.
it is that traction, right? It is that,
Yeah.
hey, people are willing to do this, that kind of got investors' attention and at least, funded a significant chunk of what we
Mm.
needed to get through the injection molds, the, hardware and, things of that nature. And fast forward to this date, our products are coming out of the assembly line. We're making it here in the US and Maine in particular. And, just a lot of people who are willing to believe in you and take a
Mm.
risk on you and, support you to keep going
Yeah.
forward. Yeah. But
That's
yeah, suffice to say,
pretty cool.
we never had enough money. Like, it's not like we had millions sitting in the bank and
No.
this was the only thing that we're going
Mm.
to build.
Mm.
So.
Ryan, I mentioned in the intro that you have an MBA from Yale, which is like a very good school where we don't have to say what it is. Everybody knows it. But do you ever feel like you still don't know enough about business, or you need help in your marketing or in your finance, anything like business related, do you still feel like, okay, I did the MBA, but I need to know more, I need to learn more? That's question number one. And question number two, are you surrounded by people who are like advising you, or, just giving you the type of advice that an entrepreneur needs?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me answer the first question.
Yeah.
I think by way of innovating,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to run into a lot of unknowns. If what
Yeah.
you're doing is already learned from an MBA program or learned from an engineering program, you're actually not being innovative. People has already
Yeah.
done this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, here we are inventing this little AI that looks after your usage as your personal energy assistant. It's like, hey, are you done with that? I'm going to turn power off and on for you, right?
Mm,
It sounds nice in concept, but to execute that,
yeah.
flawlessly, that took a lot of effort. And there's no school you can go to teach you how to do that.
True.
Schools are good to teach you the basic abilities to learn and how to approach customers to tease out what they want and what they don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, that kind of a thing. But it's not going to be helpful in, helping you, carry on with all the facets of running a business.
Yeah.
Um, and so on and so forth. So this is again, it's a really humbling journey where my co-founder and we've been through a lot of engineering projects. We were engineers by background too.
Yeah.
And I had a little bit of business background here, but still it's just inadequate. It's not enough, to really innovate and deliver what we wanted to deliver. And so it's always figuring out the problem and then figuring out the solution just one by one by one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's that. And
That's
then,
very engineer of you to say that.
yeah, it honestly, and businesses are no different. Like it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
no different. Um, and, the second question, which relates to are people guiding us and
Yeah.
advising us. Now, this is the fun part. This is the awesome part about this entrepreneurial journey. Get to meet people, that you would otherwise not be able to meet, and
Yeah.
customers, investors alike. And they may have not done exactly what you're trying to build, but they have seen things, right? They have gone through life and seen the ups and downs of industries. They've seen things, right? So they provided us a lot of help and guidance around, hey, if you needed a manufacturing resource,
Mm,
who do you even go to, right? If you
yeah.
needed certain things, from a business perspective, if you were to pitch a business or, talk to customers in certain ways. What's your sales material like? What's your
Mm-hmm.
potential business model look like? Right. And these are a lot of things that, it takes a lot of, iterations, tinkering, and having somebody who has done not the exact same thing, but something similar kind of
Yeah.
guide us along the way, is really helpful. So we owe a tremendous amount, of our current success today to our mentors that we met, through Techstars programming, through Rev, Ithaca, hardware accelerator programs, or just through, these sustainability networks,
Mm-hmm.
climate action networks, those type of things. And we are
Yeah.
just very grateful for their advice that got us
Mm.
to this far.
This is pretty amazing. And I always say that because people, like, I'm in marketing. I don't know
Yeah.
anything about manufacturing, but I know about how to market a product. Um, and regardless of the industry, or if the product is AI, I don't know, something, but the fundamentals are always the same. And you can always benefit from someone. Like, let's say, even if I work with ecom brand, and then I meet someone who has a service that they're selling, it's the same concepts. The fundamentals are the same. There are things that I can help them, see it in a different way. Like, just sometimes one comment can change your entire perspective and be like, oh my God, why am I doing this? We should have done this. I mean, if it's the right person talking to you, obviously, because there's a lot of noise out there. But I do believe that being surrounded with people, especially in entrepreneurship, if you are surrounded with other entrepreneurs, it really keeps you going forward and pushing through all the ups and downs, because the highs are very high and the lows are very low.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
like a crazy roller coaster ride. So,
Absolutely.
so yeah, if you're surrounded by people who keep telling you you're crazy, go have a full-time job. What are you doing? You're gonna quit at the end. And if you're surrounded by people who are other entrepreneurs and they know how it is, like, you're gonna be able to keep on going and going. Ryan, I feel like we can talk about this for
Yes.
forever, but we have to like keep this short and concise. So we're gonna go to we're gonna ask you 3 questions that I usually ask at the end of every episode. Are you ready?
Let's go. Lightning rounds.
So, how would your friends describe what you do for a living?
The plug, guys.
Nice. Love it. Question number 2. What is one thing that your product in this situation did for your client that you didn't expect? Like something surprising.
Yeah, so we ended up turning off a couple of treadmills for our clients in the gym,
Okay.
and it ended up saving a whole lot more energy than we would expect to save in a consumer's home.
Mm.
So we actually applied some of our technology to business owners, and
Okay.
that was something that was kind of unexpected, but it made sense in retrospect.
Well, yeah, yeah. I
We
mean,
were,
now that you're saying it, it just makes so much sense. It's not just in the home, but also in businesses.
yeah,
All right. Question number 3. Is there a book that changed your life that you would recommend to our audience?
yeah. I would say Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. The founder of Nike.
Nike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a Shoe Dog. So it's a really awesome book,
Mm.
and I sometimes think, hey, if all said and done, I might write a book myself, which is called the Teak Dog, or the Plug Guys, or something like that.
Yeah. It's interesting. There are 2 books that I got on repeat like multiple times in the podcast. Number 1 is the Nike story, and number 2 is Ed Milet, The Power of One More. Like these 2 books,
Mm,
everybody talks about them. It's pretty interesting. Ryan, where can we find you and where can people buy your product?
yeah. So we're still direct to consumer to the state. So
Mm-hmm.
you can find us on our website www.revert revert dash tech.com,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where you would find us. And feel free to drop an order, test it out, see how it goes, and write us a review. We're always
Perfect.
looking forward for feedback and ways to improve.
Perfect. Thank you, Ryan, for being a guest on my podcast. And to all the listeners, I'll be back next week with a new episode.